Welcome to the Armchair Coaching Podcast. My name is Coach Sheffer. I am the offensive line coach at Brentsville District High School in Nokesville, Virginia. And today we have another great guest. But before I introduce that guest, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. That's going to help us grow our community here at the podcast. If you'd rather listen to this in podcast form, we are found on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and many other podcast platforms. So you can find us on those. So tonight's guest is the man who has been behind the scenes on the podcast. You were part of the Ohio State program profile, and I appreciate you coming out for that episode. Coach James Heath, you are the editor of this podcast, and I want to thank you up front for doing all of that heavy lifting for me. It's been a huge burden lifted off of me, and we're going to get into that here in this podcast. So thank you for coming on today.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Ohio State was fun, but the thing that I've enjoyed the most is you had this idea, and I was able to help with my strengths, and that's what we do as coaches. We kind of, say, well, this is my strength, this is my weakness. And you try to find somebody to partner with. And that's the thing that's really been cool for me, because I thought you had a knockout idea. And I just wanted to help you along with that. And, thank you for letting me be a part of this. I mean, the way it's grown, that's kudos to you. It seems like you get a better guest every week. And I'm not a big podcast guy. It's funny, here I am doing this, but I don't listen to a lot. But I don't think I've missed an episode yet. And that's it. And I even edit it. And I go and listen to it afterwards at times, because I think that as a coach, you want that nugget. Why do we go to clinics? The nugget. We want to come home with the nugget. And, that's what I get out of the podcast. There's something I've gotten out of every one. Even caught myself taking notes and things. So kudos to you. But, thank you for letting me be a part of this as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think I'd be where I am right now, still doing this, if you weren't helping me out. Just from the beginning, when I just said that I had an idea on Twitter, you reached out to me, and basically everything that you told me to do, I've been doing, and it's worked out very well. So I really appreciate all that help.
Yeah, and here's the thing: we're just getting warm. Mm-hmm. And so little teaser. The thing is, I want to help other coaches. That's what we're in That's what we're in the business. It's a people business, whether it's kids, fellow coaches, and knowledge is power. If we get something we can share, why not? Why not do that? Why not do something above and beyond?
Exactly. I agree 100%, Coach. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this interview. And you've obviously listened to all these interviews so far, so you know the first question that's coming. I'm fascinated by everybody's story, right? We all have our own unique coaching journey. So can you kind of describe to the listeners your personal coaching journey? Basically, how did you end up where you are now?
Well, it started in 1992. Now, crazy story. I was raised by my grandparents. My grandmother was against me playing football. I had friends who wanted me to come out and play. And I would watch it on TV. I was a big Ohio State fan. I'd watch NFL on Sundays, but never got to play the game through high school. And it really ate at me. I'm from Indiana. We're a basketball state. And then my aunt and uncle both were longtime employees of the Ohio State University. So when we came up in the summer, I get to spend quite a bit of time around the horseshoe. So I knew where I was going to college. I think I did 2 apps, maybe. Ohio State was the only one I was worried about, to tell you the truth. So to make a long story short, I wanted to be a basketball manager. There was nothing available, but my uncle had ends over with the football program. So a guy named Jim Carr was actually video coordinator at the time, and he said he had a position available. And I went over, didn't know anything of the, major details about football. To tell you the truth, I didn't want to be there, but there were such great men. They were coaches at Ohio State at the time. They made me believe that I was in the right place. I could see why they were able to recruit. They recruited me so that I would stay. And that started my journey. To tell you the truth, I looked at the playbook, kind of learned some of the things in the Ohio State playbook, and I had a very short time to learn it because of the role that they wanted me to play. I was pretty much helping video coordinator with taking film, which was on tape, and then getting it to coaches. So you had to be in early. And so, it's funny, I had a conversation with a friend of mine today, and I said, and I had the conversation with my wife, actually. When I reflect back, not playing high school football, as much as it was a bad thing in my mind, I think it was a really cool thing because I was a clean slate. And I was able to go into that role with just saying, okay, yes, coach, and doing the things that need to be done. Completely. In fact, we used to play 7-on-7 in the Woody Hayes in the indoor facility. I couldn't throw a football. I think it was Bobby Hoying or Tommy, his brother, the quarterback at Ohio State at the time, came over and showed me how to throw a football. And I still couldn't throw it very well. I still can't throw it very well, but that's how much I knew about football. So the thing for me was not being able to play. I really poured myself in all of that anxiety or whatever you want to call it. All that emotion got poured into, I want to coach this game. This is a great game. Being around great people and watching them develop men. And I said, this is what I want to be about. I had quite a few family members that were in the military, didn't want any part of that. I salute our men and women who serve this country, but that long line was going to stop with me. I just really wasn't interested in that, but I was interested in leadership, and I got a very good taste of that at Ohio State. Was there for a total of 5 years, and then met my wife. We had kids quickly, and I took a 15-year period where I paid attention to the game, did some TV, did some radio, and to tell you the truth, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to get back into coaching at some time, and I won't marry you unless you agree that you're going to be a coach's wife. And she was a tremendous supporter whenever I did decide that I wanted to do that. That the great thing about my journey is that I've had to work for everything. And I say that because, when you, not that everyone doesn't work for whatever, but, for me, I kind of had that boost from not playing, and it always stuck with me. It still does. This is my first year of not coaching football, and I'm still learning. I'm still watching. I was diagnosed with cancer in May, and that's the only reason why I'm not out on a football field right now. They removed my kidney, and so I got to sit out a year, especially with COVID and everything. But it's a continuous learning process. As my cat gets in here, that's always good. Animal difficulties, but the key for me is with my journey as an offensive coordinator, working my way up quickly. I think it's because I just outworked everyone. It's not because I know more. It's because I have a work ethic, and that's really been something I learned at Ohio State. Learning how to handle situations, how to handle people, and make a long story short, that's really, that sums it up for me. It kills me not to be out. My son is at Akron Archbishop Hoban up here in Northeast Ohio. There's a power nationwide, and this summer went and watched practice from afar, and it hurt, man. It hurt because it's like I'm in a pause in this journey, but I'm grateful for where I've been and where I'm at, and kind of where I want to get to. So sorry for the blabber on there, but that's really that's my journey. It's I haven't done I've done a lot of heavy lifting, but I've had a lot of great people show me the right way to do things, and I'm excited for whatever next chapter. What that is right now, I don't know, but I'm excited whenever that day is going to come.
I completely understand what it feels like not to coach, especially from someone like me who is someone said it on another, not this. I know another guy who does a lot of media stuff. He called me a football junkie, right? Because I'm just constantly like searching for knowledge and like doing research and always on Twitter talking to other people and doing stuff like this. And I remember 3 years ago, because that's how old my son is, I went from being the head freshman coach at one high school to not coaching at all the next year, because I wanted to spend more time with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And it drove me nuts not being a part of coaching. And that was the year that I started blogging. That's when I created my first blog, which was called Obsessed with Offense. And it started off because at that time period, I had a lot of ideas. And if I could go back and talk to myself back then, I would smack myself up the back of the head and say, shut up and just learn from other people. Yeah. But at the same time, me putting my ideas out there actually attracted other people, and I learned from them too. So if I could like give anybody some knowledge, say, hey, reach out to people, right? There's people out there, especially in the coaching community on Twitter. Twitter was the best thing for me because it's like a little, it's like a clinic every single day.
Yeah.
You're going to learn new things. Just don't mention air raid or wing T, just stay right in the middle. You'll be just fine. But there are always people willing to talk, always people willing to share. And that definitely helped me. And so I definitely understand where you are right now. I haven't been coaching as long as you have, but don't hold that against me. But
No.
I definitely understand what that felt like.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that I wanted to say. If you look at how many years that I've put in as a coach, there's guys who have coached more, but I'm not being cocky whenever I say that. I feel like the people who I learn from, I have an advantage. We can't get confused with, time doesn't necessarily make a coach better. That's what you do with that time. Short period of time, a lot of knowledge, great work ethic. It'll get you places. That's my, like I said, that's my story. And I'm going to stick to it. And, I'm going to keep riding it until it doesn't go anymore, because, even now, I'll even say this. So, just today, there was a tweet concerning guys who are X's and O's guys who maybe don't know the ins and outs of offensive line play. And here's the thing. You can be a hot shot and you can draw routes and you can draw trickeration all you want to. I mean, that seems to be, everyone wants to be Dana Holgerson, or everybody wants to be, whoever. But the bottom line is, to me, a good coordinator and a good coach is able to know how those parts link together. And I've learned a lot about O-line play and, I think, because I'm not afraid to reach out to someone. I'm going to be better whenever I come back. I think if you're a good coach, you want to be better one year to the next. So really, I think it's what you do with it. And some guys go to clinics for all the wrong reasons, and I'm calling them out on that. You'll hurt your kids whenever you go and you go to a clinic and you don't do anything other than, maybe network a little bit. That's selfish. Let's learn something. Let's be able to help kids. I can't wait till I get back into football because of what I've learned during this off season, because I've had all that time. I really look forward to it. But these gurus out here, X and O's guys, First of all, you can't draw up a defense that fits so that your play looks like it works every time.
Yeah.
And some people are going to get mad at me, and that's okay. You can go ahead and call me out. I'm on Twitter. You know where to find me. But, the bottom line is that we owe the game and the kids that we coach to be the best we possibly can be.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, I think that Twitters are an interesting place because you do get to see both sides of that coin. And there's some good guys out there, so.
I can think of at least one X's and O's type guy who is a spread guy, very popular on Twitter, and has a really big YouTube channel, big following, and he seems like a great guy. And he seems very friendly, very open with sharing his stuff. But I do have to say, the one thing he never talks about is offensive line.
Yeah.
And then it's his answer to everything is, oh, we'll just half slide this. Okay. What if the defense does this? Oh no, it'll be fine. Right. And then, again, I'm not naming names because I kind of like the guy, but every time he draws a defense on the board, I'm like, that's not how I would line up to your formations. No. If I knew you were an air raid guy, that's not what I would do. That's not what, that you're leaving two defenders on a trip side. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. But they try to, I understand what you're saying. But
and I'm sorry to go on a tangent there, but, I think that the thing that I'm on the outside right now, and that's what I see whenever I look in that fishbowl. There's some stuff that I'm just like, whoa now. And I haven't had to call. That's another cool thing about coaches. You'll get exposed by some guys, one way or the other. And the other thing I said today in a tweet, and you can go and find it, is that I am amazed at the number of coaches that are out there that will blame kids or their assistant coaches when things don't go right. If you're a head coach and you're, or even coordinator, that drives me up the wall. I mean, you have a responsibility, and with that responsibility comes the accountability of, listen, you got to make sure everything is right. And that's why, I'm excited to get back into coaching. I'm hoping I get back into the coordinator role, because that's something that I've been guilty of. So, I'm not throwing, I'm not living in glass houses or whatever cliche you want to use. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just saying that, again, being on the outside of the fishbowl and looking in, coaches on Twitter really need to check themselves, because of some of the stuff that's out there, selling themselves as being gurus. You can put up gaudy numbers, but okay, who are you playing and everything else. But that offensive line, I'm telling you, that's the biggest thing that for me, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I want to be able to understand. I've done game planning where I say, how do we block this? I wanted to go a step further. So for me, that's, sorry to be, we kind of went off topic there, but, I think that, that's kind of where I'm coming from as far as, what I see out there right now.
Yeah, I used to tweet a lot more than I do now. I used to be the guy who I thought I knew everything, right? And so I just would spew it out. And then eventually, I did get exposed by a couple of other coaches who actually knew what they were talking about. And, it was embarrassing at the time, but it's also, you learn from it. Mm-hmm. If you're smart, you learn from it, right? And so now I usually just keep my mouth shut unless I know that it's something that's, actual knowledge, and I actually try to share stuff. I don't try to tell people stuff. I try to share things. And so I've definitely seen myself change recently, and it's all, well, I wouldn't give it all, credit to the other coaches, but a lot of credit I can give to the other coaches on Twitter. So you kind of talked almost a little bit about leadership and how you were a leader. So can you describe, like, as a coach, can you describe your personal leadership style?
Well, here's the thing. I coach kids, with one purpose in mind, and that's helping them become better people. I was a head JV coach for 3 years at Notre Dame Cathedral Latin up here in Northeast Ohio. Had a younger coach with me, and same way with him. He was still learning, but my biggest thing was, how can I help him as a coach and as a person? Those bus rides were a lot more about personal stuff than it was about game plan, because that's. And some people will say, well, that's, go ahead and judge me on it. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I think that my biggest thing is discovering what a person's purpose is in their eyes and their passion. And so many times I've said to the kids, I wish you could see you the way that I see you. And so for me, that's really how I look at things. Each kid I've been able to coach, I look at them and I say, this is what I believe that they can be, and I try to get them to believe it. That's really that's how I lead. I want to get people to points where they couldn't do it by themselves. And sometimes that's a hard thing, and sometimes you get burned. Other times, you're grateful, because that turns into a lifelong friendship. I've been lucky enough to have quite a few guys that I've coached that they're like sons. I check in with them pretty often. Maybe I should do a little bit more, but they're becoming grown men, and so I try to keep that space. But I do drop a note every once in a while, or even ask their parents what's going on. But my leadership style is again, it's everyone has a passion. You got to figure out what that is and help them to be successful. And to me, that's what leadership is: getting someone to a place that they couldn't get by themselves.
It's very relationship based.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in that too. I told the guy that I'm working for right now, I told him in the interview, I said, look, I'm not the coach that you're going to look to give the speeches on Friday nights, to get the team fired up. That's not me. I'm not the fiery one. I'm not the one who's yelling and screaming. I'm that coach over there with their arm around the kid's shoulder, talking to them, like either calming them down, getting them level-headed, telling them what they need to hear, that kind of stuff. And so I definitely agree, and I understand the relationship-based leadership style. So we love talking about leadership here on the podcast, especially me, but everybody wants to hear X's and O's. So when you were an offensive coordinator, what offense or offenses did you run, and what led you to choosing those?
As I think about an answer here, this is one of those things where trying not to give away certain secrets, but like I said, it was a clean slate at Ohio State. It was back in the days of the I. So I learned a lot of that, and I still think power football has its place. The cool thing was, as the spread started to come out, I loved watching that. In the two places where I've been most recently, a little bit different. A whole lot of, it's knowing your kids. That's the biggest thing. We had really good kids. For 3 years, let me see there, 2014 to 2016, I was at Crestwood, which is in Manaway, Ohio, home of Jack Lambert. That's where he graduated from. And we set all kinds of records with up-tempo, spread, but we did it in a way that it just boggles my mind. We were so fast, but yet we were so good. And I guess what I mean by that is that it was a different kind of spread. It was really kind of Rich Rodriguez and Gus Malzahn with crazy formations, trying to be a defensive coordinator's nightmare. I went to a clinic, and a gentleman came up and started pushing his finger into into my chest. You made my life hell. And I thought, oh, we've arrived, because if that's really what you want to do. If I was going to try to summarize it, it's multi-formational spread, up tempo, being able to still run the ball with authority, and then being able to play action, and we'd look to throw it deep. It's funny, I was a running backs coach, and whenever I came in, and we had a wide receiver, and I'm going to name drop here. His name was Logan too. Logan had been a running back and went to be a wide receiver, and he was pretty down on himself. One of those things where, but I love the kid. I mean, I could see that he was like, and I thought, well, he's always going to be a receiver for us, not because I didn't know he'd been a running back as a freshman. And we put him out. We had a guy who was a hockey player who could play tight end. We could flex him out. He was a heck of an athlete. We were just able to spread things out and do things that just would absolutely just kill defenses. But this coordinator, he was like, I can't believe that you. And I said, wait till next year. Because we were going to move to running back. And Logan is a heck of an athlete. He ended up at Cornell. He plays safety. I think he might be a starter for them, but loved contact. And the day that he was told he's going to get to go back to running back, he and I sat down and we talked. And we really built it around him because we knew he was a stud. And he should have won Offensive Player of the Year in Division IV in Ohio 2 years in a row. But he was a junior, so he didn't get it his junior year. He had a better junior year than he did his senior year statistically, believe it or not. But the thing we were able to do was be extra, be multiple. We didn't have to depend on him all the time. Pete Thompson is actually the coach at Streetsboro here up in Northeast Ohio, and he was my head coach there. He challenged me and made me a better coach overall. But, really just as run game coordinator and working with him, he's having great success at Streetsboro, which is where he's moved on to after Crestwood, and doing the same things. So, again, as I say, it's multiple formations. We're driving you crazy. One of my favorite things, and whenever I actually had JV responsibilities at Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, one of the things I had to do was a formation we called load, which is 5 guys to one side. Now, you're in a JV game and you start to throw this out, and JV coaches are calling timeout. I mean, it was so funny because I'm like, we had prepared being able to just run screen, a fake screen, and a couple other things. And we actually ran a double pass in that game. And, it's just funny because you take things as you go. We never did get to run it at the varsity level at Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, but just one of those things where, that's the thing I also love is coming up with some kind of wrinkle that keeps the kids excited. And it's unexpected, so that a defensive coordinator goes, what? You burn a timeout and things like that. But I'm not going to lie. We used to get up big and know that we didn't want to put anything on film for the next week. So we would run these gimmick plays and everything. And that's what we would do on a Saturday. We get the game plan done, add something else. But 2-point plays were another thing. We didn't have really necessarily a solid kicker. So we had a great stash of 2-point plays, we throw it out, whatever. It's third and forever. What do? You get in low and you throw a screen and see if you can block it and get down. But it's angles, it's numbers. It's just real simple stuff. But again, if you're going to ask me, well, what does it look like? It looks like if Rich Rodriguez and Gus Malzahn sat down in a room and came up with an offense, that's what you get out of it. And it was high scoring. I want to say almost 42 a game for over a 3-year span. Great stuff. Went to NDCL, more of an air raid based offense there, and learned a lot from Andrew Mooney, who actually, his dad was a Hall of Famer at Texas Tech. He went to New Mexico State when Hal Mumme was there. So that's why he brought some air raid stuff along. And then he ended up going to Ohio University, was a really good tight end there. To tell you the truth, I think that if he would have had a couple other physical attributes, he probably could have been playing in the league. I think he was close to making it. But, picking his brain, I'm more of the wild, crazy guy. He's more of the laid back, knows what he wants to do type guy. And so sometimes that didn't go along very, at times, but because, you got to do what your head coach tells you to in some situations. But I learned a lot from it, though. So at the end of the day, when I get back in, those two coaches and what they taught me, it's going to be out there on, in the offense. But, picking up little things here and there, and whatever works for you. For me, that's the thing I've done. My playbook right now, it's actually thinned down because I had too much. So, but again, I'm excited because what I learned from those two guys, and their different personalities and their preparation with everything was different. But you definitely see their flavor in my playbook, and so in the future, I think that's what'll come out. It's a little bit of everything. And people say, well, you can't do everything and be good. Well, I've been there, I've done that, and yeah, you can. Yeah, you can if you do it the right way. So.
That kind of reminds me. I'm not sure if you've heard of or you've seen a guy on Twitter named Bruce Ein. He's out in Oregon. He did a lot of like single wing stuff, but more like spread single wing. And one of his favorite formations, it's one that I love, and it's one that if I ever get an opportunity to be an offensive coordinator at any level, whether it's youth, JV, varsity, whatever, I'm definitely putting it in just as those WTF moments.
Mm-hmm.
He calls it, and he only has like 2 plays, and it's called stupid sweep. And they call it stupid because the first time they ran it, the coach on the opposite side said, "Quit being stupid." It's literally the most unbalanced formation that you can possibly legally do in football.
Mm-hmm.
It's the center and everyone else on the other side.
Yeah.
And the quarterback behind him.
Yeah.
And the quarterback runs a sweep.
Yeah.
Either to the side where everybody is or away from it if they overload the other way. And I was like, that's like the simplest thing that you could put in. And at the JV level, they'd be like, hold on, what is it? Timeout. They'd have to, right?
Yeah.
If you need them to take a timeout, they would have to because they've never seen that before. Nobody runs that, right? And that's who I would want to be. I'm definitely contrarian. If I was living 20, 30 years ago when everybody else was running the option, I'd be running spread because I want to be different, right? Now that everybody's running spread, I want to do something even more different,
Yeah.
I still love the spread, but I love the unbalance from like the wing T and stuff like that. So how do I combine those,
Yeah. Over here, up here in Northeast Ohio, I know Rick Darlington has been up here a couple of times. Now, if you know Rick, he goes to, and he talks about the single wing. Mm-hmm. And, his thing always is, well, if you want to be like everyone else and do what they do, you have to be better than them. But if you do something different, you can be great at what you do different. And it's funny. My son was at Crestwood last year, and their rival is Garrettsville. Garrettsville had Rick Darlington come in, do the whole like clinic, seminar, whatever you want to call it, for an install. And they've been running single wing, I want to say maybe for 3 years, maybe more. And what they do is just devastating. Mogador is a big time small school up here in Northeast Ohio, and they actually play tomorrow night against Garrettsville. And I'm just, it's one of those things where, and that's the thing that I love about football. Mogador up here in Northeast Ohio has been doing the same thing for 30, 40 years. Same thing. It's power T. That's what you're going to get. It's a power run game. 11 muscled up dudes. Every once in a while they get a big receiver or a fast guy. But, they do what they do. And every once in a while they throw a wrinkle in and everyone goes, oh my God, what is going on here? Because you're so thrown off by the fact that you think that they're never going to change. And you prepare as a coach for, they're stubborn. They're going to keep doing this. And then they actually, go out and do that. I could go talk all day about some of the coaches here in Northeast Ohio who've done a great job of establishing themselves as one thing. Then they come back the next year with something a little bit different, and it throws everyone off. It seems to throw everyone off, and they're already good. They're state championship contenders every year, for God's sakes. But they somehow, some way, find something else to throw at you, and it's so frustrating for other coaches. You're like, you're so good, and then you do this, really? It's like it's not fair. But it's it's one of those things where I think if I was in a situation where my star quarterback got hurt, and I had to put my running back there, is that going to change my offensive philosophy? Yeah, it is. And I think that's the thing that's why I like multiple. Because I think that it allows you to be creative as you go. Some people say, "Oh, you're too gimmicky." No, because I want to be able to have those kinds of things in if I need it. So that's another thing that's kind of shaped how I look at offense. And again, I'm not married to anything except for what's going to help me win at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the next question I have for you is, who are some people, whether they're coaches or not, who've had a large influence on who you are today?
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of layers to the cake. Like I said, starting out at Ohio State, but before that, I knew I wanted to coach. My high school coach, Gene Miller, has won, I think, over 700, maybe 800 games in basketball. But he was a guy who he taught leadership, and I couldn't help but learn a lot from him. To me, good coaches are good coaches. So that got me started, with an understanding. I talked to him through my first couple of years when I was at Ohio State. Hey, this is something I want to do. What should I be doing? And the first thing he says is pay attention to details. Talk about when I was at Ohio State. So John Cooper is a NCAA Hall of Fame coach. He was head coach at Ohio State at the time. Will not hold against him that he couldn't beat Michigan, because everyone else will. And then Tim Spencer was running backs coach. And I learned a lot from watching Tim Spencer with how he handled some pretty good running backs at the time. Eddie George, Heisman Trophy winner. Pepe Pearson was pretty good. He's now the running backs coach at Marshall. And I think that if you talk to Pepe, I think he learned a lot from, having Tim Spencer as a coach. Lovie Smith was actually DB's coach at Ohio State at the time. I mean, there's a lot of guys that just, like I said, it was a clean slate. I just wanted to understand, hey, I'm going to be in here doing my thing, but I'm going to learn from you. Bill Conley was our recruiting coordinator at Ohio State, and I spent a lot of time with him because we got those tapes in from all over the state of Ohio. Everyone wanted to be a Buckeye, and just learning how to handle people. He's just a diplomat. That's all there is to it. I mean, he should have been in politics or sales, maybe both. Maybe they're all, politicians, I guess, are salesmen in some ways, but he had the ability to reach inside of you and make you feel like you were much better than you were, and then go and be it. And I think that's part of the whole purpose, because he'd asked me those kinds of questions, here and there. I mean, there's just so much coaching talent at Ohio State at the time. I love Nick Saban. My kids roll their eyes a lot because I reference Saint Nick quite a bit around the house. That's why I call him because I disagree with a lot. I really agree with a lot of things that more than just the process, but how he looks at a player as a person, and getting the best out of people. Being a basketball guy, Coach Mike Krzyzewski is the same thing. I've really taken, again, I think good coaches are good coaches. Let's not get it twisted. At the end of the day, like I said, there's a lot of different layers to that. There's a lot of great high school coaches here in the state of Ohio who I've had the opportunity to sit down and talk with, and even some of the guys, more recently, some of the guys at Ohio State, being able to go down during the spring and have access to those guys has been great. Being able to kind of pick their brain for, a couple of questions here and there. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of different people and a lot of different layers to that. But you got to be true to yourself. I think at the end of the day, it's, I don't try to emulate anyone. I learned that early on. You don't want to do that. But again, it's all about the nuggets. If they give you a nugget, just like a squirrel, but with that nut, you got to go and put it in the pile, and there's going to come a time when you're gonna use it. That's what I firmly believe. And that's why it's important to, just get a nugget out of if you're gonna spend time doing it, get something out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to switch gears here on this next question. And one of the other main series that we do on this podcast that you were a part of for a little while was the program profile. And so far we've only done college teams, and maybe eventually I'll actually get to do some NFL teams. But I love talking college and NFL football. What college and NFL teams do you root for? I obviously know at least one college team that you root for. Are there any others, and any NFL teams that you pull for on Sundays?
Well, everyone knows I'm Mr. Buckeye as far as that goes. I have a former player at Oklahoma, so I do pay attention to Oklahoma quite a bit. I almost ran over Lincoln Riley in the parking lot. He was there to recruit him, and it was needless to say, it was funny. He was walking behind the car, and it was icy, and he almost fell down. And I pulled out, and he kind of looked at me, and I'm like, "That's what you get for allowing Baker to plant the flag at the 50-yard line." Just kind of drove away. But yeah, former player Gabe Burkick was at Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. He had a perfect season kicking. So yeah, I pay attention to what was going on with him. So I do pay attention to Oklahoma. Plus, their offense is fun. It's just a whole lot of fun. I do watch Alabama a bit just because I love to watch Nick Saban go off. Especially I think I probably watched the press conference afterwards more than anything, just because I'm waiting for him to say something, so I can, again, have it where my kids roll their eyes. As far as the other college, I like Gus Malzahn, so I will watch, Auburn whenever I can. I don't watch Clemson. Anyway, just to carry over from that Ohio State one, I do watch the academies. I have been known to, if I know they're on, DVR it, go back and watch, simply because I just love the beauty of what they're able to do with their programs. I'm probably just like any other coach. I do have the flavor of the week where I watch something. Yes, I do. I watch a lot of film. I go, and anytime I can get a chance to record a game or whatever, I'm watching, usually whatever the new flavor is with that. But Really, Ohio State is always going to be my team for the reasons I've kind of mentioned over and over again. But there are a few others just because I like the coaches and I do like the offense. I feel like there's a lot to learn from how they attack defenses and things like that. So am I a fan from a coaching aspect? Yes. My family doesn't like to sit down and watch because I like to try to run things back in the middle. And they say, no, Dad, don't do that. You can do it, And so I've learned that you DVR it, and you can be able to go back and watch it. You have to be a fan when the family's around. But, the Buckeyes really are – what Ryan Day is doing is just tremendous. But, you'll catch me watching a little bit of SEC. People in Big Ten country won't like to hear that, but that's okay. It's good football. You can deny it all you want to, have your conspiracy theories and whatever, but it's good football. And I just like watching good football at the end of the day. You asked me about NFL. We moved to Northeast Ohio. It'll soon be 5 years. And I grew up in Indiana. I remember Eric Dickerson as a Colt. And then lucky enough to have Peyton Manning. So I did follow the Colts for a while, but kind of fell off, didn't watch very much NFL. And then did a pro camp with Baker Mayfield last year, and getting to know Baker over the 2 or 3 days that we had the camp, I kind of got on the Browns bandwagon. So he had a rough year last year. People live and die up here by what the Brownies do. You have a miserable week if they lose, and if they win, like they did last Thursday, everyone seems to be in a great mood, no matter where you go. But they live and die with football up here in Northeast Ohio. And I'd have to say, I guess the Browns are a team that I root for on the regular. That I make sure that it's like must-see TV for me, simply because I also want to be in the know of what's going on.
Yeah, this week, as of right now, when we're recording this weekend, the Browns play the Washington football team, and that's my wife's family's team. So unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to root against the Brownies this week.
Well, but it's hard for me. I mean, Haskins and McLaurin, as well as Chase Young. I mean, those are 3 Buckeye dudes that I watched develop in time going down to Columbus. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, do I want to cheer for them and root for them? Yes. I hope that they, have great games. But at the end of the day, we here in Northeast Ohio, it gets a little testy whenever the Brownies aren't doing so hot. And that's been maybe why we're so cantankerous up here in the, Northeast part of this state, because there's not been a lot of winning going on. A whole lot of expectations over and over again, a lot of heartbreak. And I mean, don't get a Browns fan started, because if you ask them, well, how are you doing? They'll immediately go to the Browns. They won't talk about themselves. They'll talk about, it really stinks at the Browns. It's like, oh, and I've learned that the hard way. I really have, but that's okay.
Hey, same here. Washington hasn't had a whole lot of success recently either. So I definitely get that.
Yeah.
Let's get to the meat of what we actually meant to do on this podcast for the most part. You have been a huge help to me getting this podcast started. And you're in the background, you're doing a big chunk of the editing process especially for the audio piece. And then now we might have some new video stuff coming up, and you're working on a new, why am I having a brain fart right now?
It's all right.
A new logo for me. Could you kind of describe the services that you provide in regards to like the technology, podcasts, and social media?
Yeah. So one of the things that I love is I love coaching. The other thing I love is technology. So we just try to combine those together to help coaches to, have a platform. Do you have a platform with the guys that you coach? Yeah, you do. But we are all part of a greater fraternity. And I think if you have something to share, why not? So, the first thing is talking about technology. my biggest thing is if a guy has great ideas and he wants to put them out there, but he's not sure, I want to partner. I want to partner with that coach. I want to help them to be able to overcome the technology barrier. Most of what you need, you already have. If you don't have it, it's easy to get. And that's the thing. I want to help people, come along. This is not about ego. It's not about money. It's not about competition. It's about helping us be better as coaches, being able to share information. I think that, that's the biggest thing for me. As far as podcasts go, I think there's a lot of guys who are great communicators. They're just not sure, well, how would I do it? Do I have the time? And I think there's answers. The thing that I like to do is, same situation with, whenever I initially talked with you, for example, we talked about what's the content, what's the link, and different things. And the biggest thing is you got to create a brand for yourself. And I think that's important for a couple of reasons. One, you want to set yourself apart just for identity purposes. But the other thing is, if you're a coach and you want to move up, I think it's a great thing to be able to show your personality. If an athletic director goes and looks and sees that you have something online and you can show that you know what you're talking about, your personality's out there, it goes beyond the resume. It really does. And I think that it helps the decision makers get to know you better because they can go and look that up. So what you're doing is you're creating a coaching portfolio with multimedia and other things that really states the case for you to possibly be, does it speak to a head coach who's looking for a guy? He wants to know, who are you? Well, he gets to find out who you are, pretty quickly. I mean, some guys in coaching are pretty good actors. Most are not. So I think that you're going to come across as who you really are and how genuine that you are. If you're going for a head coach and it's a principal, superintendent, whoever that decision maker is, I think it's going to help if you're able to put your face, your personality out there. The other thing is we want to network as coaches. We want to network as coaches. We want to be able to share what we know, share ideas, create new partnerships and things. And I think that's one of the things that, that's why social media, I think, is important. There's some guys out right now who are doing great with minimal use of the social media. They'll throw video on. Coach Hines, who's out in California, does a great job. And you'll notice he does, I think, have a podcast. But what he does real well is, for what it's worth or whatever his little, and that's textbook because it's simple, it's quick, it gets a point across, and then he's on. And he doesn't do them all the time, but when he does, he's on point. And I think that's another thing is I want to help any coach get their ideas down and out for other coaches and allow them to be themselves, have their personality shine through, and then, be able to network with other guys because that's, you said it earlier. It's like it can be a clinic every day. And partnering with certain guys it's great. We already have some of that collaboration going on now through Twitter and other social media. And to me, it's like, I love that stuff. Why aren't we able to do more? Well, number one, some guys don't think that they are technically savvy enough to do it. Okay, partner with me. We'll get there. Some guys are not sure about, I don't look very good or I don't sound very good. Well, can we fix those things? No, but as a coach, I want to know what you're sharing. I want a piece of what you're sharing. Maybe I'm not really worried about what your voice sounds like or what you look like. I mean, look at me, for example. I've got a face for radio and a voice for haunted house. But at the end of the day, do I want to share stuff? Am I confident in what I'm sharing? Yes. That shouldn't matter. It shouldn't hold you back. If anything, you can have someone voice and dub them and do whatever else too. If you don't want to talk, like the sound of your voice. There's so much that coaches have to offer. Why not step out and share with the coaching fraternity? I think that, that's really what I'm trying to bring. Those are the services. It's really consulting. It's helping, again, just as I said with players, we want to help coaches get to a new point where they have a platform and they're successful, and they can share that success with others. That's really what I'm about. At the end of the day, that's what I do. That's what my passion is.
Yeah, and for those of you out there listening, if you're interested in setting up any kind of podcast or other kind of social media and you need a little bit of help with that, I will make sure that you can find Coach Heath's information in the description of both the podcast and the YouTube video so that you can find him on Twitter. If he ever has a website, I'll make sure
it's
that
coming.
It's on the way. I'll make sure that you'll have access to that as well. So I got one last question for you, not trying to take up too much of your time, but, final thoughts. This is one that I ask all the coaches to talk about. There's a lot of coaches out there, whether it's due to COVID or other situations, that they're not coaching right now, or, it's difficult to find positives in today's environment. Do you have any words of wisdom for those coaches out there who might be listening and they're searching for the positives out there?
Well, from personal experience, I'm going to say this. Sitting in the SUV, watching first day of practice, and I was in tears. And I'm like, how am I going to get through this? Well, here's the thing. We as coaches ask our kids to face adversity head on. We ask our kids to, look adversity in the eye and overcome. And it's hard. It's hard for, our kids depend on the sports that they play. But the biggest thing is, if we look at all the positivity that we can continue to do for our kids and for each other. And that's another reason why I think it's important that we're networking, we're lifting each other up. All the back and forth and all the negativity, there's plenty of that out there. If that's where you want to go and find and hunt down, trust me, I think there's twice as much positivity on social media if you want to go find it. There's guys who are, rays of light who are going to be able to show you something and get you through. And that's another reason why I think we got to have more sharing of ideas and things, because we got to fill the void for ourselves. I think that how are we going to get through and stay positive? For me, it's staying connected to the game in different ways. It's looking at it through a different lens. And sometimes I know that that's hard, because we want to focus on, everybody wants to focus on feelings. Don't get me wrong. Feelings aren't necessarily a bad thing until they get in the way. But focus on what you've got, the blessing of the fact that you get to coach kids, where they're at, helping them get through, because the journey now looks different. We got to help them get to a point to where they stay locked in academically. They got to stay locked in with us as far as, what are they doing socially? Are we taking care of them so that, those needs are met, so they're not going down the wrong path? And what we're going to do is we're going to create great relationships with those kids that we wouldn't necessarily maybe have before, because we're going to need to invest more time. And that's the thing I miss the most, is the fact that, being able to invest in kids in their lives, because it's so important. I mean, you got to look at the blessings that you've got instead of the negatives. Is the game going to come back around to you? Yes, it is. Do you know when? No. But the game, the game, here, it's 15 weeks to win a state championship, plus you got 4 weeks at the beginning of the season. So you spend 20 weeks with a kid. That's a long time during a season. But we're able to go beyond that, make a greater impact on something, other than football right now. And I just found out that, going to return to coaching basketball. And it's one of those things where I've got too much excitement going on because I haven't been able to invest in kids. And, you all have that opportunity. If you're a coach right now, and yeah, you don't have a season, you have opportunities to still coach. Coaching is about people. And that's the biggest thing that we've got to start realizing is that the wins and losses of life are much, much bigger than the scoreboard. Everyone wants to win, but why not teach a kid how to win for life? That's how we're going to lift it, and we're going to become better men and women. Unless there's women coaches in high school, I hope that there are, because they bring a different angle as well. And some people are going to go, "Oh, did he just say that?" Yeah, I did. We all are diverse. What we share with others, especially in a time like this with all this division going on, we've got to find a way to make a greater impact than just football and the scoreboard. We've got to. Here in Northeast Ohio, there is a program, predominantly black schools partner with predominantly white schools, called it Build a Bridge. And I'll just touch on this. There was recently at a local high school, there was an incident, and I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it was based on race. The African American Coaches Association here in Northeast Ohio jumped in, immediately called out the school district, and I thought this could be a terrible, terrible thing because didn't know how that was going to go. Now I know the men who are part of that. The thing that's happened is there's greater awareness, and across that diversity, people started to talk. People started to share ideas and things. And are we playing football here in the state of Ohio? Yes. But in the middle of a season where all the football is going on, suddenly the talk came down to building the bridge. It wasn't about COVID, and it wasn't about who's getting canceled this week or whatever. It was about, hey, everyone identified there's an issue, and they wanted to come together to talk about it. And I think that's important, especially in the time that we're in. It's very timely, and positivity is going to really be just building the kids up that we have. Investing in their lives as much as what you would in a practice plan. I mean, here's a challenge, coaches. Take a piece of paper, write 3 words: purpose. Okay, you want the kid to identify what his purpose is. Okay, the other thing is his passion. Then ask him where he wants to be in 3 years, whatever, how many ever years when he graduates. And then look that kid in the eye and say, you know what? These are good things. We can work with this. And then go and help them. Help them create a plan that they can work out themselves. We always say as football coaches, what we do, make the plan and then work the plan. Do it for your kids. Teach them something beyond just the game. Teach them how to be successful.
Well, Coach, thank you for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been fun. I'm sorry I get a little long-winded. Maybe that's because I haven't been able to give some rah-rah speeches. You're talking about earlier about you're not that guy. I always say that I'm not that guy, and then end up being that guy. So, at the end of the day, it's I don't know. I might put a fist through a chalkboard come basketball season because I got all this pent-up coaching energy. But here's the thing that I enjoy about your podcast and being a part of it is that the diversity of guests that you have. And again, I hope that we're able to grow this even more, simply because it's good stuff. It's good stuff. There's great nuggets. I'll probably go back to a couple of other podcasts and probably listen. I could listen to those again and get something else out of it because it's good stuff, and that's why you're having success. But you're the driver of the bus. I'm just making sure that we sound good. That the muffler's on as far as that goes. We're not. But it's been a lot of fun to invest in, and I'm looking forward to again, bigger things are coming with both the podcast and then things on YouTube. A lot of guys are going to be jealous, and I can't wait, because that's again, you're going to do anything, you got to want to be the best at it. You may fall short, but you're going to be pretty damn good at the end of the day.
I'm all hyped up for it, Coach.
All
I'm
right.
ready for the future. All right, this has been the Armchair Coaching Podcast, and this is Coach Sheffer signing out.